Good afternoon. Welcome to the, Lloyd and I would be the only ones to know, the umpteenth Cinema Roundtable at the University of Georgia. The Willson Center for Humanities and Arts. And I want to welcome Nicholas Allen, the director, and Lloyd Winstead has been incredibly helpful over the years. The Willson Center, for years now, we've done a cinema roundtable at least once a semester. And typically we come up with some kind of topic that's interdisciplinary that allows faculty and grad students and then hopefully an audience of undergraduates to be interested in it to talk about cinema and the ways it overlaps other areas. This semester we're doing something a little different. Last spring, right? The Cine Club, the University of Georgia's undergraduate Cine Club, and us decided to do an event at the Cine Movie Theater. And in the lab, we had this great event that on a night when everybody was saying, oh, it's exams and nobody can show up, we had like 75 people show up to do a round table that's very similar to this. And I ran into Nicholas Allen right afterwards and told him, he says, well, let's do this for the Willson Center. So first of all, close to me is my good friend and colleague, Mike Hussey. Mike teaches in the theater program and started the computer animation sequence, which I talk about a lot in the intro to film class and push regularly. In a moment, I'll have them each sort of say a little bit more about what they do and where they come from. Next to him, Valentina Tapia, who's got a double major, right? Got a dual degree major in telecommunications in the Grady College, so for television and other things that they teach. But magazine journalism as well, and a double major with film studies, and just graduated a few years ago. And she also went on the Con program and can tell about those things as well. Neal Holman is right next to her. Neal has the interdisciplinary studies degree, which was much more popular a few years back, and Mike might be able to mention that a little bit as well. What'd you call it, in computer animation? Or? So an interdisciplinary degree in computer animation. Next to him is Josh Marsh. Josh has recently completed the theater department's MFA in dramatic media, which for many students is computer animation. But he's also currently in the PhD program as well. So we're thrilled to have him join us. And in a few minutes, Chris Wells will be joining us as well, who is also an interdisciplinary computer animation student a few years back.
My name is Chris Wells. I'm a visual effects supervisor for films, just for different films that have come and gone, and hopefully will soon to be out. One tonight.
What's that one?
A movie called Looper. Go see it and say nice things.
Maybe you've heard of it.
So I don't know. Should you want Mike to talk a little about the program, and then where Josh fit into it? How's that? Does that make sense? Does that sound okay? Since the microphone's on this end of the table.
And we were talking with the Vice President Bacchese, I think, at the time, and he was a tough sell on things. You had to know what you were doing, and so we went through and we set up a whole bunch of classrooms with whatever computer we could beg, borrow. Well, we didn't steal anything, but we did beg and borrow a lot, and put everything we could onto these computers that would show what the future could be like if the university were to invest in this idea of putting in a computer animation program. And it was a big success, I think, because in the end he gave us the money, but what we promised him was that within a year we would turn out a winner in one of the animation festivals from this program, and that would be our payoff to show that it was a good investment. So we did it, and within a year we won a
I gotta say, normally this is not the most confident guy who's gonna say, so he goes to Bacchese and says, we're gonna get an award within a year from some student in this program, whose name we don't even know yet.
That's why, I should learn to keep my mouth shut, basically, is what I should. But we did it, and what we did was just take this idea of this interdisciplinary approach that we had all of these foundation courses around, and we would use those to put the program together.
So I probably more so than anything have a background in writing. I was an English major and was teaching high school when I decided that I didn't enjoy that anymore. Fran Teague recommended that I meet with this Mike Hussey guy, and I did, and he was great and very kind and very knowledgeable, and I came into the program as an MFA animation student. And I went through the program and have worked on everything from museum pieces to commercials to a really awful feature film that I hope never gets made to
When do we get to that story?
a bunch of really interesting and very different projects, and I came in knowing probably nothing about animation at all, and went to helping teach the animation classes. So I've come a long way, I guess.
And do you want to say like 30 seconds on Animation Mentor as well?
Sure.
In addition to the courses we've done here, and then we'll go back to like before there was an Animation Mentor and show a clip or two and get talking about the.
So,
what
like
people
Chris
do.
was saying earlier, that just having skills in computer animation can get you a long way. This is a generalist program, as Mike will tell you, which means that it's to teach you a wide variety of skills, not just animating, moving the character around, but also modeling the characters, texturing, rendering, everything. And Animation Mentor is a different program that is offered online, and you learn from professional animators, and they're only animators. So I'd taken classes from people at Pixar and DreamWorks and Disney to learn character animation, which is a very specific part of this very long production pipeline, but I did that simultaneously while I was here and got some great work out of that. So.
I mean, do you want to say anything about like things you've seen, or like in terms of networking and or the extent to
Oh,
which,
sure.
Yeah.
like if you're looking for talent, where do you look?
Networking always works. If you see a career fair, where I know career fairs sound kind of like a lame science fair, but it actually works out a lot. We always go down to SCAD because they have a career fair, and we do portfolio reviews for them there. We've hired several students from there as well. I email Mike about 2 or 3 times a year asking, hey, is there anybody that, who's your top guy? And so it just pays off. Be nice. Be a nice person. It's not a bad way to go about things.
Agreed. And I will say networking isn't always going to be what you think it is. It isn't always the career fairs.
Mm-hmm.
It might be the really random interactions that you don't consciously think of in that way. The way I got the job that led to the job I have now is I interviewed Dave Willis, who's the creator of Aqua Teen, Hunger Force, and Squidbillies. For the film thing, the radio talk show I hosted at WUOG. And while I was doing that, they were traveling with one of their marketing guys at Cartoon Network, Paul Fruget, who was just so kind and so warm, gave me his business card, told me whenever I wanted to tour the office to come by, and I never did. But then when I found this posting for a T3 position, which stands for not like Teenage Tiny Turtle, but Turner Trainee Team, it's like a 11-month, this is a good out-of-college job that maybe y'all want to look at. When I saw the posting online, I emailed Paul and asked if he had any recommendations for how to like wade through the murks of the internet listings. And what he did was he took my resume and put it directly into the hands of the hiring manager, which was just a huge asset. And I never would have navigated, like I said, the depths of the internet without that. And that was just because he was nice and I was nice, like Neal was talking about.
just be a nice person.
But
You don't know who's
be a
going to
nice
give you a job.
person, totally. And
it
he
works out.
That's right. And this guy, Paul, is just the marketing department is wholly unrelated to development or to on-air programming and all that. And he works in a building across the street. But he was willing to do that for me. I don't know why. But we were just nice to each
Networking
other.
isn't necessarily putting your business card in somebody's hand and glad handing them, basically. It's just meet people, be nice, be yourself. If it ends up the person who's a friend of a friend has a job for you, then it's worked out. Then you've successfully networked.
Right, and this connection happened like 3 years later, too. It wasn't, the next week I looked online. It was like, oh my God, do I have that guy's business card from
Sure.
like 2007? I do. I'm going to email him. And he totally remembered me, so.
Yeah, we hired the guy who's in charge of our 3D department now, Robert Paraguso. Was a good friend of my friend Anna Gillespie, who was in our IDS program. And because I met him through her, when his name came up to possibility for this job, like, oh, I know that guy. That's this guy. I looked at his reel like, that's the same guy? Awesome. That's a home run. Because he was nice and talented, but also nice.
Like they're saying, production assistants everywhere, or other assistants, the nice thing, and when he brought up the tax credit, Georgia is going to start getting a lot more work. I personally think the tax credits are evil, but they're here and they're going to stay for a while. There's a lot of work, and the hardest thing for you to do now is to find out what those productions are and where they're filming. Because once you get involved with one of these crews, you can easily find your way on set doing a not so fun job, but a job. And once you get onto one of these sets, whether it be live action or in post or on TV, that's really it. It's just getting your foot in the door and being a really nice person. I always said, work ethic, attitude, and artistic ability in that order were the things that we always look for. Because if you got a strong work ethic and you're a great person, even if you're lacking a little bit, we want to help you, be a better artist. If you're not a nice person, yeah.
Then you better
We
be
just make
really
fun-
talented.
Yeah, be really, and even that,
Even
even the
that.
most talented people, we're just like, you gotta
Oh,
go. We're
yeah.
done with you. But I was just thinking about that. There's a lot of people. There's actually more jobs in all these productions than you might think. But the big question is, how do I find this job? You can scour the internet, and like I said, networking in one way. And I think that's a lot of what you're talking about. What you're talking about is if you know someone, maybe they can point you in the direction how to find the job. You still have to get the job yourself, but it doesn't hurt to stop looking and stop inquiring. Ask questions. Tenacity will get you a job faster than anything. You put in a reel, you don't hear back, don't be dejected, do it again. You call up somebody and say, hey, you're on this film, you need any help? It's not going to hurt, it's not going to kill you. Just keep being tenacious about this and try to find how to get that first foot in the door. And on top of that, with what George is doing with the tax credit, there's going to be a lot more work here, a lot. Most of it's going to be live action because post is not part of the tax credit, at least not that I'm aware of right now. But there's a lot of regional-based stuff. And this is what I think is going to happen with the tax credit. It's going to create some regional things, which is kind of good. A lot of work in Louisiana. I just did that for 3.5 months. I'm okay now.